I will teach you how to think correctly. You've been lied to. From the moment you took your first breath, the world began programming you. Not for greatness, not for power, but for obedience, for smallness, for quiet desperation wrapped in politeness and average dreams. And now you sit there wondering why success feels distant, why purpose feels blurry, why discipline feels like a mountain, and doubt a weight you carry everywhere. It's not your fault you were misled, but it is your responsibility to wake up. I will teach you how to think correctly, not how to think more, but how to think right. Because everything you desire, everything you envy, everything that haunts you at night when your eyes are wide open and your soul feels restless, it all comes down to how you think. Not what you know, not what you've tried, not what your family believes. How you think. Your thinking is the architect. Your life is the blueprint. And if you keep building castles with crooked thoughts, don't be surprised when the walls crumble at the first storm. So let me burn this into your mind. Right thinking is not positive thinking. It's powerful thinking, rooted in clarity, fueled by discipline, anchored in belief so unshakable that even fear can't get a word in. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly believed in yourself without needing evidence? When was the last time you stared at a mountain of problems and said, "Good, this will make me stronger"? When was the last time you were betrayed, overlooked, underestimated, and used it to sharpen your mind like a blade instead of dulling your spirit? That's the difference. That's the battlefield. And it starts in your thoughts. Because the mind is not a garden, it is a forge. You don't water it with wishes. You hammer it with intent. The truth is, most people think on autopilot. They react instead of construct. They confuse emotion for insight. They confuse memory for meaning. And they confuse past pain for future prophecy. But you are not most people. Not anymore. Because once you begin to think correctly, the world changes shape. Problems become puzzles. Setbacks become setups. And rejection becomes redirection. Thinking correctly doesn't mean you always feel good. It means you always move forward. It doesn't mean life is easy. It means you are equipped. It doesn't mean you're certain. It means you are committed, even in the dark. And to get there, we begin with one unshakable truth. You become what you constantly think about. Not what you hope. Not what you journal once a week. What you saturate your mind with daily. If your thoughts are soaked in fear, don't be shocked when your life is small. If your thoughts are built around envy, don't be surprised when joy never visits. And if your thoughts revolve around what others think of you, you'll live in a prison you built with their opinions. The power is not in external motivation, it is in mental construction. Your thoughts create a frequency. That frequency attracts matching conditions. You are either attracting victory or inviting defeat with every thought you allow to linger. Every day, every moment, you're feeding one of two wolves inside you. One is driven by doubt, distraction, and excuses. The other is fed by clarity, purpose, and unwavering self-command. Which one have you been feeding? Here's the harsh truth. Thinking correctly requires pain. The pain of unlearning. The pain of facing yourself without filters. The pain of discipline over distraction. But on the other side of that pain is power. Not the kind of power that makes others bow, but the kind that makes your doubt kneel. So stop negotiating with your old self. That version of you, the one who settled, delayed, complained, waited, is already dead. The only question now is, will you bury it? Or keep dragging the corpse into your future? Because you cannot become who you're meant to be if you're still loyal to who you were. Good. You're still here. That means something inside you is waking up. Not the version of you that was trained to wait, to ask for permission, to tiptoe around life hoping not to fail. No. I'm speaking to the version of you that's been buried under years of noise. Buried, but not broken. Forgotten, but not gone. Asleep, but not dead. Let me speak directly to that part of you now, the part that knows you were born for more. You weren't put here to conform. You were put here to create, to build, to rise, to lead yourself first, so that the world follows your example, not your excuses. Correct thinking starts with one radical act, taking ownership. You must own your thoughts, because if you don't, the world will. If you don't program your mind, someone else will, through media, gossip, fear, failure, comfort. The world is a factory of distraction, pumping out low-level thoughts by the second. But you must be the one who builds a firewall around your mind. That means you don't entertain every thought that shows up. You evaluate it. You question it. You challenge it. Is this thought making me stronger? Is it aligned with the vision I've declared? Or is it dragging me backward into comfort, into fear, into a version of me I promised I'd outgrow? Right thinking is brutal in its honesty. It doesn't flatter your ego. It demands discipline, repetition, and silence. Because correct thinking doesn't yell. It whispers. And if your mind is too noisy with doubt, fear, comparison, and past trauma, you'll never hear it. You have to clean the room before the truth can sit in it. So let's clean. Throw out the belief that you're not ready. Destroy the thought that someone else's success subtracts from yours. Burn the false idea that discipline is a punishment. Discipline is freedom's gatekeeper. Want peace of mind? Practice discipline. Want freedom? Practice discipline. Want to build a legacy that outlives your name? Practice discipline. Because here's what most people don't realize. Success is not about luck. It's about alignment. The alignment between what you think, what you believe, what you say, and what you do. If even one of those is out of sync, the system collapses. You can't think like a leader but speak like a victim. You can't dream of abundance but act out of scarcity. You can't visualize greatness but tolerate low standards. Correct thinking means every part of you is pulling in the same direction, even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts. And let me tell you something about pain. Pain is not the enemy. It is the indicator that growth is happening. The same way sore muscles mean you're building strength, mental resistance means you're stretching the boundaries of your belief. Welcome it. Don't run from it. Thank it for showing up, because it means you're still alive enough to evolve. Most people try to change their results. Few people are brave enough to change their thought patterns. But that's where the real war is. And if you win the battle in your mind, the rest of the world falls in line like dominoes. Because the truth is this, the world does not reward you for what you wish you were. It responds to what you believe you already are. And you cannot fake that belief. You either own your worth, or you rent your self-image from the approval of others. Rent is due every day. Ownership is permanent. So choose. Think like someone who deserves it. Think like someone who's already on the way. Think like someone who refuses to retreat just because the path is uphill. Because the mountain doesn't care how tired you are. But it will move for the one who climbs with conviction. And conviction is born from clarity. Clarity is a weapon. Not a soft idea, not a nice to have, not something you hope to figure out eventually. Clarity is the edge that cuts through the fog of fear, the confusion of comparison, and the paralysis of overthinking. Until you know exactly what you want and why you want it, you will chase shadows, not results. You will be busy but not effective. You will look confident on the outside, but crumble internally every time life pushes back. So here's the truth. If your vision isn't clear, your mind will become chaotic. And chaos is the playground of doubt. Doubt multiplies when clarity disappears. But clarity kills doubt on sight. So let me ask you, have you decided who you are? Not who you were told to be. Not who your parents modeled. Not what society made you believe was realistic. But you, your raw, unfiltered, no excuses version. Have you met them? Because until you do, you're wearing someone else's identity like a cheap suit. It looks good in photos, but it doesn't fit your soul. Clarity isn't some vague idea of, I want to be successful. No, that's fluff. Clarity sounds like this. I will be a creator of impact. I will dominate my field, not compete in it. I will wake up every day with intention, and I will go to sleep with nothing left on the table. That's clarity. Clarity makes you magnetic. It sharpens your focus. It eliminates distractions. Because when you know what you want, everything else is noise. People who lack clarity are always chasing. Chasing approval. Chasing shiny objects. Chasing shortcuts to fulfillment. But people with clarity, they attract. They attract opportunities because they look ready. They attract respect because they command it. They attract momentum because they're walking in one direction while the rest of the world spins in circles. Correct thinking fuels clarity, and clarity fuels vision. Vision is not just dreaming big. It's seeing it so vividly that your body starts preparing for it as if it's already real. That's what Napoleon Hill meant when he said, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." But here's what most people miss. Belief is not a mood. It's a mental muscle. And like any muscle, if you don't train it, it weakens. You must believe in your vision when there's no evidence. When the bank account is empty. When no one claps for you. When the results are invisible. That's when belief is built, not when things are easy, but when the pressure is suffocating. This is what separates the average from the elite. Most people wait for proof. Champions create it. That means thinking from your vision, not just about it. It means asking, if I already was that version of myself, what would I be doing today? How would I walk, speak, think, train, write, create, decide? That is identity-based thinking, not wishful thinking. And once your identity catches up to your intention, your results begin to obey your mindset. But here's the part they don't teach you in schools or self-help books. Vision without discipline is a fantasy. And fantasies don't survive friction. So let's get uncomfortable. Because correct thinking doesn't just live in your mind. It must bleed into your habits. It must live in your calendar, in your morning routine, in your choices when no one's watching. Discipline is not about doing hard things once. It's about doing the right things repeatedly, even when they're no longer exciting. It's setting a standard and enforcing it with ruthless consistency. It's refusing to let temporary emotions dictate permanent outcomes. Discipline is when you no longer need to feel like it, you just do it because it's who you are. When you think correctly, discipline becomes automatic. It's not punishment, it's protection. It protects your vision. It guards your mind. It shields your purpose from the attack of procrastination. Because the truth is, if you don't discipline yourself, the world will do it for you, harshly, publicly, and without mercy. Correct thinking requires daily alignment, daily decisions, daily reminders that the old version of you is no longer welcome in the rooms you're building. So burn the bridge, the one that leads back to your excuses, the one that leads back to comfort, the one that lets you try instead of become. You don't need a way back. You need a way through. Because once you begin thinking correctly, there is no return to the old you. Not because you're not allowed, but because it would suffocate your spirit to shrink back into that version. You've seen the truth now, and the truth has weight. It demands you rise to meet it. But know this, clarity and discipline will test you. Not with failure, but with temptation. Temptation to take the easier route. Temptation to doubt your pace because someone else is ahead. Temptation to water down your vision to fit into conversations with small minds. And if you don't train your thoughts like a warrior trains their reflexes, you'll flinch at the first sign of resistance. This is why correct thinking is not a hack. It's not a tactic. It's a lifestyle. It's rewriting your mental operating system from the ground up. It's choosing intentional thought over habitual reaction. It's developing a mindset so fortified that even your worst day can't shake it. Because make no mistake, storms will come. You'll lose people. You'll be misunderstood. You'll outgrow environments you once called home. You'll walk alone. Often. But correct thinking turns that loneliness into power. It sharpens your inner dialogue. It makes you the source instead of the seeker. Because when your mind is disciplined, solitude becomes sacred, not scary. Let others scroll, complain, distract. You build. You use that time to plant new beliefs. You feed your vision with repetition. You carve out your future, one silent, deliberate thought at a time. Correct thinking isn't just about affirmations, it's about activation. It's the ability to command your focus when distractions are loud. To anchor yourself in purpose when your emotions are chaos. To keep walking in the direction of your goals when there is no applause, no likes, no validation, just silence and willpower. And still, you move. Because you've realized by now, you don't need motivation. You need alignment. When your thinking aligns with your vision, your actions align automatically. You stop negotiating with the alarm clock. You stop justifying bad habits. You stop explaining your standards to people who have none. You no longer argue with those who gave up on their own dreams. They are not your audience. Your audience is the future. Your future self is watching, waiting, asking, "Will you think like me before you become me?" Because that's the secret. You become it in thought before you become it in flesh. The millionaire mindset shows up before the millions. The greatness mindset arrives before the recognition. The strong, unshakable, unbreakable you must be built in silence before the world ever sees the results. So start now. Correct your thinking before the world tries to correct your life. Because the world is ruthless with the unfocused. It rewards the prepared. It ignores the entitled. And it punishes the passive. Correct thinking is the difference between a life of power and a life of regret. Between the few who design their destiny and the many who watch, wish, and wither. So the next time your mind drifts, remind yourself of this. Every thought is a vote. A vote for the life you want, or the one you're trying to escape. So cast your votes wisely. Cast them in discipline, in belief, in patience, in power. Because the most dangerous thing in the world is a person who has mastered their mind. And you are becoming that person. Good. You're still breathing with intention. You're still here, still sharpening, still becoming. Because something inside you knows, this isn't motivation. This is transformation. And now we go deeper. You want to master the external? First, conquer the internal. Your results are a mirror, not of what you desire, but of what you tolerate. Your outer world simply reflects your inner conditioning. So if you want more, wealth, peace, legacy, strength, it begins with thought correction, thought elevation, thought domination. You must become the guardian of your own mind. You don't allow weak thoughts to linger. You don't let doubt set up camp. You don't tolerate mental laziness, not even for a second. Because the mind, left untrained, will become your prison. It will chain you to who you were and blind you to who you're becoming. And most will never escape that trap. They'll keep thinking the same way and wonder why their life stays the same. They'll read books but never live them. They'll hear truth but never apply it. They'll get inspired and do nothing. But not you. Not anymore. You're not here for sparks of motivation. You're here to light a fire that never dies. And fire needs fuel. Your fuel? Purpose. Purpose gives pain a reason. Purpose makes discipline feel like devotion. Purpose transforms boredom into sacred repetition. You see, without purpose, even the strongest mind will fracture. Because life will hit hard. And when it does, only a mind trained on why will survive the what. Why are you doing this? Why are you waking up early when no one's watching? Why are you sacrificing comfort, silence, ego, and safety? Because you've decided that a meaningless life is the only thing more painful than a disciplined one. Correct thinking rewires your brain to welcome struggle. Not because you enjoy it, but because you've realized it's the only way through the noise. You don't resist the fire, you become it. You don't wait for opportunities, you create them. You don't chase approval, you command respect through consistency. This is what separates the leaders from the followers, the builders from the beggars, the few who embody greatness from the many who admire it from a distance. So hear me, you don't get what you want. You get what you are. And what you are is created in thought, sharpened in discipline, proven in action, strengthened in silence, and revealed in impact. But don't expect it to be easy, because the more correctly you think, the more you'll notice how wrong everyone else is thinking. You'll see the lies, the mediocrity, the mental laziness passed off as realism. And you'll feel the distance between who you are and who you used to be grow. It's lonely at first, but eventually that loneliness becomes freedom. Because you're not thinking to belong anymore. You're thinking to build. And builders don't explain their blueprints to the uninspired. They just show the results when the foundation is done. So from now on, let your work speak louder than your wounds. Let your progress speak louder than your past. Let your vision drown out every voice of doubt still lingering in your subconscious. And when that voice does show up, because it will, you meet it with fire. With the voice you're building right now. A voice so certain, so grounded, so trained that fear doesn't even try to argue anymore. That's correct thinking. It's not about silence. It's about sovereignty. Your mind becomes your kingdom, and you rule it with clarity, belief, and action. You become the master, not the servant of fear, not the slave to old stories, not the victim of mental chaos. You become the commander of self. And when that shift happens, when your mind obeys your mission instead of your moods, you become unstoppable. Not perfect, not invincible, but inevitable. Because people will doubt you. Markets will shift. Plans will collapse. But if your thinking is correct, you will always rise again. You will adjust. You will adapt. You will endure. And eventually, you will win. Yes, let's rise together now, into the fire of your final transformation. You've come this far not by chance, not by comfort, but because something inside you refuses to die quietly. That voice, your higher self, it's not whispering anymore. It's roaring, and the world will feel it soon. Because when a human being masters their thoughts, they become more than a person. They become a force that bends reality, a force that walks into rooms and shifts energy, a force that speaks with such conviction, doubt has no place to hide, a force so disciplined, even chaos respects its boundaries. And if you think that kind of power is reserved for the few, you've already lost. The only difference between the powerful and the passive is how they think. The powerful build identity from the inside out. The passive wait to be validated by the outside world. The powerful decide who they are, then act accordingly. The passive wonder, wish, and wait. But you are done waiting. Because every second you hesitate, the older version of you gains ground. The one who makes excuses. The one who flinches under pressure. The one who dreams but never dares. You know that version. And you're not going back. Because now you've seen who you can become. And once you've seen it, truly seen it, you can't unsee it. You can't pretend to be average anymore. You can't tolerate conversations that kill your momentum. You can't keep living at war with your own potential. Correct thinking rewires every cell in your body to operate from truth. Not fear. Not emotion. Not popularity. Truth. And the truth is this. You are more powerful than you've ever allowed yourself to be. Not in ego. Not in arrogance. But in certainty. A quiet, burning certainty that no matter how long it takes, you will not quit. You will not shrink. You will not die full of ideas you were too scared to build. Because this isn't about success. It's about becoming. Becoming the kind of person whose life proves the value of right thinking. Becoming the kind of person who no longer fears storms, but summons them, knowing the storm is where the next level is forged. Becoming the kind of person who wakes up with vision in their bones and goes to sleep with gratitude in their heart, not because life is easy, but because they've earned that peace through relentless internal work. You want to be that person? Then think like them now. Walk like them now. Decide like them now. Because life doesn't respond to potential. It responds to alignment. And when your thoughts, beliefs, actions, and emotions are aligned with your highest self, that's when the world moves out of your way. So hear this clearly, and let it tattoo your soul. You are not here to survive this life. You are here to command it. You are here to shape it. You are here to break cycles, rewrite legacies, and build realities so powerful they ripple through generations. But it begins, always, with one decision: to think correctly. Not once, not when it's convenient, but every day, every hour, every moment you catch your mind drifting toward doubt, you pull it back. You discipline it. You teach it. You rebuild it, brick by unbreakable brick, until your mind becomes your weapon. Because when you learn to think correctly, the enemy outside can do nothing to the warrior within. That is your edge. That is your truth. That is your path. And now you walk it. With power. With clarity. With no return. Because the old you is gone. And the one who remains is inevitable. You are inevitable. Because now you think like it. The world may not see it yet. The followers. The doubters. The people who still call you by the name of your past. Let them. You don't need recognition to rise. You don't need applause to sharpen your craft. You don't need someone to hand you permission to become powerful. Correct thinking has already anointed you. Your thoughts are no longer random. They're surgical, precise, calibrated to match the future you refuse to live without. And when your thinking reaches that level of alignment, fear starts packing its bags. Procrastination loses its grip. Old habits crack like dead branches under the pressure of your new mindset. You are no longer trying to change. You have changed. And now, everything around you is catching up. You don't chase opportunities. You become the type of person who naturally attracts them. Not by talking louder, but by living louder. Not by forcing your greatness, but by embodying it. Because true power never screams. It moves. It moves in how you show up. It moves in how you think under pressure. It moves in the silence of your daily disciplines. And it moves mountains without asking for permission. And here's what no one tells you until it's too late. You don't get another life. This is it. Right here. Right now. And you will either live it reacting to everything outside you, or commanding everything from within. You will either die as a product of your circumstances, or live as the designer of them. And the only dividing line, the only difference between the story you settle for and the legacy you build, is how you think. You must think like a builder in a world of renters. Think like a kingdom in a world of rooms. Think like a fountain in a world begging for drops. Because when your thinking changes, everything changes. You walk differently. You speak with precision. You stop explaining your boundaries. You stop apologizing for your standards. You stop needing approval from people whose lives don't even inspire you. Correct thinking creates emotional sovereignty. And once you own your emotional world, no one on earth can control you again. Your boss can't. Your critics can't. Your past can't. Not even your fears. You've dethroned them all. You've taken the crown back. Because kings and queens don't beg to be understood. They build so powerfully that eventually, even their silence is studied. And that's where you're headed. Where your stillness becomes your statement. Where your discipline becomes your language. where your thinking becomes so elevated, the old version of you can't even breathe in that altitude. So breathe deeply now. Breathe like someone who has stopped running from themselves. Breathe like someone who knows this moment is not a peak, but a beginning. Breathe like someone who has finally realized that life was never happening to them. It was happening for them, to forge them. And what it's been forging this whole time, through heartbreak, setbacks, betrayal, resistance, was a mind that cannot be manipulated, a mind that cannot be bought, a mind that doesn't break, it builds. You are not here to live in reaction. You are here to respond with power. You are not here to mimic. You are here to master. You are not here to merely survive the storm. You are here to become the storm. And it begins every time you choose the right thought over the easy one, the strong belief over the familiar one, the powerful identity over the comfortable pattern. And if you ever forget, if you ever start to doubt your rise, your future, your worth, return to this truth. I will teach you how to think correctly, but only you can commit to living that way. And if you do, fully, ruthlessly, relentlessly, there will come a day where you won't recognize the life you're living. Not because it looks like a dream, but because you finally built it with your own hands, from the inside out. And when that day comes, when you stand inside the life that once lived only in your imagination, you'll realize something. It was never about luck. It was never about timing. It was never about who you knew, or what advantages you did or didn't have. It was always about one thing: mental sovereignty. Because once you reclaimed control over your thoughts, you stopped living by default. You stopped waiting for motivation. You stopped needing external validation. You stopped looking for signs and started becoming one. You became your own rescue plan, your own economy, your own source of direction, inspiration, and unshakable faith. That's when you became dangerous, not to others, but to the parts of you that used to settle, to the fear that used to whisper, "What if you fail?" You answered it, not with words, but with action. You failed. You rose. You failed again. You evolved. And now failure isn't your enemy. It's your fuel. You don't flinch anymore. You don't hesitate, because hesitation is what broke you before. Now decisiveness is your armor. Conviction is your compass. And discipline is your sword. You no longer wait to feel ready, because readiness isn't a feeling. It's a decision. And you made it. You made the choice most people never will. You didn't just read the book. You didn't just highlight the quotes. You became the philosophy. You embodied the principles. You turned the invisible into reality. Not with magic, but with mastery. And the world is starting to notice. Because when someone operates at this frequency, they become impossible to ignore. People feel it in your presence. They hear it in your silence. They see it in how you carry yourself. Because you're not performing. You're aligned. You're not pretending. You're prepared. And when the universe sees someone prepared, it moves. It shifts. It opens the doors that only discipline can unlock. That's the game now. Not chasing. Becoming. Not controlling everything around you, but commanding everything within you. And this is the moment where most people turn back. because it gets lonely at this altitude. Friends fall off. Old versions of you start screaming for relevance. Distractions come dressed as blessings. Comfort whispers, "Come home." But you know the truth. Comfort is where your potential goes to die. And you didn't come this far to get comfortable. You came this far to burn the blueprint of who you used to be and rewrite your story with fire. So don't stop. Don't slow down. Don't shrink because the room got quiet. It's quiet because you outgrew the noise. You're not here to fit in. You're here to forge a new standard. One thought at a time. One belief at a time. One unbreakable decision at a time. This is your revolution. Not on the outside, but in your mind. Because the greatest victory you will ever win is the war against the voice that still believes you're not enough. And today, that voice dies. Because the real you just woke up. And you've got work to do.